Have you ever wondered, how do you start to turn your life around? Like, where do you start? Maybe you're watching this from a hospital bed and you want to turn your life around. Maybe you have a job that you don't enjoy and you want to turn your life around. Maybe you're in a relationship that's not fulfilling you and you want to turn your life around. Maybe you want to go into something that gives you more purpose, more fulfillment, and you want to turn your life around. Whatever it may be, have you ever wondered, how is it that people start to turn their lives around? And I want to emphasize that this video is called How to Start to Turn Your Life Around, not how to turn your life around. How to start. Because it's a gradual thing. Turning your life around does not just happen like this. You have to start, and you have to start somewhere. And it's interesting, I used to watch, when my mum used to drive me around when I was a kid, I'd sit in the car and I'd look out the window. There would be poor people walking on the street, or homeless people. And I used to wonder, like, how did they get to that position in their life? Like, what decisions did they have to make to get to that position of having no home, no friends, having to borrow food, no money, no job? How did they get to that position? But then I also wondered for the other side of that, which was people that not necessarily walked around like they had money, but walked around like they were happy, walked around like they were in peace and content, but yet they walked purposefully. They walked like they were walking to something or for someone. And what was the difference between these two? Now, while I didn't find myself up here or down here, and maybe you're not up here or down here either, but you're just in the middle and you're wondering, where can I start? What do I do? Just hurry up and tell me in this video. Well, we're going to get to it. You hear of all these success stories, and I know you've heard them all before, but like of a person who grew up in the slums and became a famous basketball player, or a person who had no money and became one of the greatest painters, or a person who went through, and it doesn't even have to be anything like famous. Like, maybe it's just someone that you knew in school or university that you didn't think were too different from you. Like, you were just in the classroom with them not too long ago, but now they seem to have a family, they have their stuff together, they have their own business, or whatever it may be. Maybe it was someone you were partying with and who was taking drugs, drinking, who was one of the craziest people you know, and now has their stuff together. How do those people start to get their life together? Where do they start? So that's a lot of saying start, so let's start. So the first one is open to the possibility. Before you do anything, like anything that you've ever done in your life, if you think about it, the very first thing that you do is you open to the possibility that you could do it. I have a daughter, she's almost 2 years old, and she used to look at the stairs and she used to see them, and she used to just look at them and then just put up her hand because she knew that she couldn't do it. And it wasn't until one day she got a little bit bigger, and then she saw the steps, or in your case, you might see what you could be doing in your life, but you're not quite doing it yet. And then there was one day where she decided, she opened to the possibility that she could do it herself. And she had that little glimpse that she could do it herself, that she could actually do this. That this, who she was now, the person who couldn't climb the stairs, the person who couldn't go into a different relationship or a greater relationship, or the person who couldn't get out of hospital and get clean, or the person who's stuck in a job and wants a more fulfilling job. Whoever you may be watching this video, you have to open to the possibility that you could actually become that person. And I was reading 2 days ago, I was reading this book, and it was about very random. I just opened the book, random page, and I don't think the book was about gardening or anything, but I find a page about a tomato seed. And she said, can you imagine the first person that picked up a tomato seed? Like, they would never have imagined that this tomato seed would become a tree or a plant, let alone that it would bear fruit that would actually like give me something to eat or give my family something to eat. And so often when we look at things, like when we look at the possibility of something changing in our lives, we look at it like it couldn't become anything. As if like not many things would change if this happened. And then so what do? We get the tomato seed, or we get the possibility, and then we throw it in the ground. But then it's still not over, because even if you throw it in the ground, it could still grow, right? But imagine if we have the intention that this could actually become something. The person that I want to be, the person that's in this seed, if I can give this person a chance, if I can give this seed, this person a chance, I'll put it in the ground, and you might not even, and that's the beauty about gardening, is that you plant the seeds and you might not even see it grow for 1 day, 3 days, a week, a month, a few months. You might not even see anything, but then eventually you see a shoot, and then you're like, oh my gosh, and then it gives you hope, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this is actually working. Like, this could actually grow into something. From the age of about 10 to 18 or 19, I went through this crappy relationship with my dad. Really broken relationship. Like, I was always angry at him. I didn't like who he was or what he did. And there was one day I was reading something in a book, and it said something about healing the relationship with your dad. And for me, just reading that little glimpse, it was seeing that there was that possibility that something could change in that relationship. I'm just about to finish a book that I've been writing for 5 years, and I had to open to the possibility that writing 1 page could turn into a book, right? And you might even not know what it turns into. You don't even know what it has to turn into, but you just have to open to the possibility that this could happen. Because if you don't open to the possibility, it's going to be impossible. And here's the cool thing, is that the things that seem impossible, if you just open to the possibility that they could be possible, then you've started. That's the first step. But you think, in order to become that person, it's so far away, or in order to get that dream job that I want, or in order to get that dream girlfriend, boyfriend that I want, in order to get out of hospital and get sober is such a long journey. Well, it might be, but it doesn't take long to start. And that's the beauty of this whole thing, is that you can start by just opening up to the possibility that things could be different from where they are right now. The second way that you can start to turn your life around is 2 or 4. So what does that mean? Well, this is the number 2 and this is the number 4. No, I'm just kidding. What it means is life happening to you, or is it happening for you? Now, I heard this a million times. I heard it a million times, and you've heard it a million times. But are you actually actioning it? Are you actually living it like life is for you? Or is life still happening to you? Because I'll show you the difference between the two. The first one is, if life is happening to you, you are the victim of everything. Everything that happens in your life, you're the victim of it. So something happens and you're like, oh man, why me? Why again? Like, it's always happening to me. Or it's a rainy day. Oh man, I can't believe it's a rainy day again. It's like you just sink into this victim mentality of why me? Why this? Why that? It's never right. And if we get stuck in this victim mentality of why this, why that, then we start to fall into this. Then those negative emotions and thoughts, they start to just circle in our head until that's all that there is. And then ultimately you just start pointing fingers and saying, why did this person do that? Or why is the economy like this? Or why did that person do this to me? And you just start pointing fingers like it's anyone's fault but yours. And if it's anyone's fault but yours, then good luck changing your life. Because if your life is on everyone else, then it's not really your life, is it? The second one is, if life is happening to you, then you are always feeling stuck, or you're always feeling stagnant, like nothing's ever changing. And of course nothing's ever changing, because if we look at the top one again, the victim, you're always pointing fingers, you're always relying on someone else to do something different in order for you to feel different. So then you're never giving the power to yourself. And that's why you always feel stuck. And if you're stuck, you're living the same day, the same week, the same month, the same year over and over and over and over again. You wonder why that you're not feeling great, or you're in a position where you want to turn your life around, where everything's just seemed to spiral downhill. But it's really difficult to see that in ourselves. We often need someone from the outside to tell us that. So the third one is, you are always reactive. My partner and I, we took our daughter to her little play group at her school the other week, and I had to like send a quick text before I walked into the school. And so they walked in, and I was like a minute outside, and then I walked in, and one of the gardeners of the school, she said to me, "Are you off the street?" And when she said that, it felt quite invasive. Like, no, I've been here before. Like, I'm a parent of the school. Like, how dare you? And that's what I wanted to say, and I wanted to get angry, but I knew that wasn't the right response. And oftentimes we know that, but we fall for that initial response, that very quick emotional response of anger or whatever it may be. If life is happening to, the fourth point that we have is wrong place. So wherever you go, you always feel like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. In fact, you don't want to be here, you don't want to be there, you don't even, and therefore if you're neither here or there, you're not anywhere. It's like you're in the job and you're thinking about the holiday, or you're on the holiday and you're thinking about coming back to the job. It's that endless cycle of being anywhere but here, but anywhere but present. And so you never actually get to be in the moment. You're always living for either the future or the past. However, if life starts happening for you, let's write this in red because it's more exciting. If life starts happening for you, if it's happening to you, you're the victim. If it's happening for you, you become the victor of life. So it took me so long to realize this, that everything that happens to me, everything that happens to you, everyone that talks to you, every situation that you're in, it is all happening for you. And it's all guiding you somewhere. And it's guiding you to the place that you ultimately really want to be, that you can have the greatest impact and fulfillment of not only yourself, but the people around you. And when you have that kind of mentality that, wait, so you mean like I had to go through all of this bad stuff to understand that it was pointing me in the direction of something great? And what a lot of people don't understand is, there's a perfect line in, well, I'm not going to say perfect, but there's a very good line in the book that I'm just finishing, and it says, the darker the cloud, the more rain, and the more rain, the more growth. So whatever tough thing you're going through, whatever difficult thing you're going through, it's making you strong enough so that when you get to that great thing, that you want to stay there and you're not going to fall back into this old person that you've been for so long. Life, it just simply wants you to win. It simply wants you to win. If you go around thinking that throughout, even if you just do it today, after watching this video, or tomorrow, you wake up and you have, okay, everything today that happens, life is doing it because it wants to help me win. It wants to help me understand something for me to win. The second point, if life is happening for you, is you're either stuck or you maybe guessed it, growth. You're always growing. From no matter if something bad happens, something good happens, you're always growing. And to be honest, if you're always in these two, the victim mentality or the growth mentality, there is no such thing as something bad happening. Or there's tough things that happen, but there's no bad things that happen. You're either good, great, or learning things that are happening. I'll give you a great example. I was talking to a friend the other day and he said, I get really sad sometimes. And I asked him, and he just sat there for a bit longer, and I said, like, I thought he was going to say something more, but I said, and why is that? And then he said, well, like, because, I'm going through this relationship thing, and then ultimately, like, he didn't want to be alone, and anyway, it got a little bit deeper, but the point is that a lot of people, when they feel sadness, or they feel depression, or that they feel like there's no way out, they think that's the end, but it's not the end. It's like, why do you think there's no way out? Why are you depressed? Why? Ask yourself why. Why digs into you, and it reveals the answer that clears things up for you. I asked this question to myself about my dad, the relationship I have with my dad, the broken relationship. I said to myself, why do I want to heal this? Like, he doesn't necessarily deserve it. He hasn't done anything for me to do this for him. Like, why am I doing it? And I asked myself why, and I said, well, because it would be nice to have a relationship with my dad. And then I thought, well, it'd be nice to have, if I ever have a kid one day, it'd be nice for them to have a relationship. Well, and then why though? Why? I kept asking myself, why? Well, because then other people could see that I've done it, so then maybe they would want to do it too. but it goes deeper. And then why? Because he loves me. And then I ask myself, why again? And it's because I love him as well. And then when you get to that bottom why, the why that lies in the very bottom of your heart, that holds the clarity and the truth that you need in order to change, to turn your life around, to change a relationship, to change jobs, to change anything, to turn anything around in your life. When you get to that bottom why, that's when things will start to happen. And that's when you'll get the clarity that you need to take action. And speaking of action, the third point is, if it's happening to you, you're reactive to everything. If life is happening for you, you're proactive to everything. And just by studying wealthy people, and I'm not talking about money, just money, I'm talking about like happy people that have found peace, fulfillment, joy, purpose in their lives. I've been studying them the last few months in this winter. It's been like a hibernation of study. And I worked out that I shouldn't be studying why people, like how people are successful now. I should be studying how they began to be successful, how they started to feel happy, how they started to turn their lives around. Like what steps did they make? What mental or mindset tools did they use to make those changes? And I worked out that so many of those people who I was reading, they were so resourceful. And if something, for example, if something bad happened to them, like say these markers are accidentally, a bird comes, extreme example, or the bird comes, steals them from my hand and goes out. I have no more markers. What can I do? Well, maybe I go look for a pencil, or maybe, well, actually a pencil wouldn't really work. That's probably a bad idea. Maybe I embrace it. Maybe I just do it without the whiteboard. You know, whatever it is, it's like you're always moving forward. And that's the whole point. It's like, oh, the bird took it. Now it's over. Or you're in hospital, you've lost all your friends, your family, and it's over. And it's just, this is how it's going to be. You know, so to have that mentality of like always shrinking and always getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, not that small. But to always be proactive, be resourceful, get moving forward, get some momentum in your life, and feel it. You can feel it as well when you're doing it. All right, the fourth point, which I think is quite an obvious one, is right place. You're always in the right place at the right time. If life is happening for you, you are always in the right place at the right time. You're exactly where you're meant to be now watching this video. And it's really hard sometimes to understand that because, again, I heard that a lot. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And you're thinking, no, I'm not. I'm anywhere but where I want to be. But it's like, no, you have to go through all of these things in order to propel yourself to that next version that you want to be, that person who you want to become. Having said that, that doesn't mean that you sink into the job that is sucking the energy out of you, or it doesn't mean that you stay in the relationship that's sucking the energy out of you, or it doesn't mean that you stay on drugs that you know are not good for you. It means taking the lessons from those things. There's a beautiful quote, I have no idea who it's by, but it's unbelievable, it's one of my favorites. It says, everyone receives the lesson, but very few receive the teaching. I'll say it one more time. Everyone receives the lesson, but very few receive the teaching. And so, something I figured out, like, it's not just me, I'm sure a bunch of other people have figured it out, but life is always trying to communicate something to you every day on what you should go towards and who you should go towards. And the more you get in tune with these things, the more you can actually feel it. You start gravitating to it. And it's because that's where you're meant to be. That's where the person that is awaiting you is waiting for you. The third way to turn your life around. Number 3. Oh my God, I forgot it. I'm never going to turn my life around. Oh no. Choose or decide. Now, you might be thinking, well, they mean the same thing. What are you talking about? But they do not mean the same thing. And I take this from my favorite mentor in the world, Myron Golden, and he says that you have to decide to change your life. But most people are choosing to change their life, or they are choosing to do things. Most people are choosing. The difference between choosing and deciding is choosing is when you pick one. So the great example, like if there's an apple and a chocolate bar in the fridge, I don't know if you keep your apples in the fridge. If there's an apple or chocolate bar in the fridge, and you see the apple and you're like, okay, that's the better one. I'm going to choose the apple. So you choose the apple. And the next day, you might choose the chocolate bar. So just because you choose one doesn't necessarily mean it's a permanent thing, right? And the perfect example of this is when at the start of the year, when everyone has their New Year's resolutions, that everyone chooses to, okay, I'm going to lose 10 kilos, or I'm going to go vegan for a month, or I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to get sober, whatever it may be. But everyone's choosing to do these things, because what happens, I think Tony Robbins has this stat that after 2 or 3 months, 80% of New Year's resolutions don't follow through. It's because everyone's choosing to do things. But what does decide mean? Well, the word decide is, if we cut it in half, the word decide, the word de means of or off, and the word side means to cut. So that means if we decide to do something, then we cut off all the other possibilities of doing anything else, but we decide to do that one thing. So it raises the question, are you choosing or are you deciding? Because deciding will change your life. Choosing will not change your life. Decide to get healthy. You have to decide to want to be in a healthy relationship. You have to decide to trust your partner. You have to decide to eat healthy. You have to decide not to drink anymore. You have to decide. You have to decide all these things. You have to decide, I'm not going to be in this job that is just not me anymore. You have to decide, or else it's just going to creep back into your life, and it's going to keep creeping back in until it's back in. Right? You have to decide. Cut off all the other possibilities. As I think it's Tony Robbins says, you have to, if you want the island, you have to burn the boats. If you want the island, you have to burn the boats. And so I guess the only thing left to say to you is to start. Start. And this is the magical thing, is that when you actually do start, or you decide to start, you are the one who gets to see your life turn around. Not anyone else in the world, but you get to live out your story and your vision, whatever that may be. You might not even know. I love this quote from Winnie the Pooh. I don't watch much Winnie the Pooh, but I used to watch a lot. Actually, I read some books now with my daughter, but there's this scene where Pooh and Piglet are walking in the snow, and there's this big storm in front of them. And Pooh says to Piglet, "Piglet, I can't see 2 steps in front of me." And then Piglet says, "That's okay, Pooh. You only need to see 1." And that's how we should go through life. You don't need to know 10 steps ahead. You don't need to know 5, 4, 3, even 2 steps. You just need to know 1 step forward that you have to take. And I want to promise you that it does get easier. But to start, that's the hard part. I hope this video does wonders for your world. Be kind, be caring, be courageous, and I'll see you on the next video. Lots of love.